So in the last session, we had discussed about design of struts. That was for single angle struts. For double angle struts, also the equation or the procedure will be the same. The only thing will be changing will be the slenderness ratio, that is scaled by R. Yeah? So from today's session onwards, we'll be starting with our column section and we'll be starting with analysis of columns. Yeah? So the question here will be, determine the design axial compressive load, that means we need to find the value of PD on the column section, that is ISLB 500. ISLB, that is Indian Standard Light Beam. Look, the first two letters, that is IS, will always be representing the term that is Indian standards. The last letter, that is B, will be representing the term beam. So if it is mentioned as B, it will be beam. If it is mentioned as C, it will be channel, that is C section. If it is mentioned as T, that will be a T section. Clear? So this will be the changes that will be incorporating, and this letter, that is L. So there are various sections or the various letters that will be seen, that are L, J, M, H, W. So it can be any of these things. We will be going through all these things in detail. If it is given as L, it will be a light. Clear? That means Indian Standard Light Beam. If it is J, then it will be a junior. So Indian Standard Junior Beam, or Indian Standard Junior Channel, Indian Standard Junior T, any of these things. Yeah? If it is M, it will be Indian Standard Medium Beam. If it is given as H, it will be Indian Standard Heavy Beam. And if it is given as W, it will be Indian Standard Wide Beam. These abbreviations are being asked for 1 mark, so keep a note of it. So moving forward, it is given, the sectional weight is given, and it is given that it is having a length of 5 meter and pinned at ends. Pinned at ends, that means it is hinged at both ends. Take Fy equal to 250 and modulus of velocity is 2 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per mm square. Clear? So now we are starting with our portion, that is of our columns. In the previous sessions, we were discussing about angle sections, that was for struts. Clear? Whether it will be a single angle struts or a double angle struts. So for solving struts, we'll be always solving the value of PD that was given in our IS code, and for that we will be finding the value of lambda. But in the cases of columns, that will be either a I section, that is our beams. It can either be of channel section, that is a C section. It can be of T section or any of the compound section that we'll be seeing later on. So for all that cases, lambda will not be found. In that cases, we'll be seeing only the tables that are given in our IS code. Clear? So first we will be seeing the sectional properties that are for ISLB 500 at 0.75 kilonewton per meter. So from steel table we can obtain these properties. We will be needing every property. So from steel table we need to acquire all these cases that we'll be seeing later on. So from steel table, as you can see here, from page number 12, you always need to look upon these figures. Clear? So as it is given of I section, it is a beam. Whether the section will be using in a column or a beam, it is referred as beam sections. Clear? This is I sections, as you can see in the figure, and in this description it is mentioned various categories that are being prescribed by our Indian standards. So here on the first column you can see that section is mentioned ISLB. So ISLB, that is Indian Standard Light Beam 500. That is, this number will always represent the total height or overall depth of the section. Clear? So here the total height of the section is given as 500. And for that we will be requiring various parameters from this line. Whereas like example A, that is a cross sectional area, it is mentioned here that it is 95.50 centimeter square, that comes out to be 9550 mm square. We will be requiring the depth of section. Depth of section, that means the height of section that we have discussed. We will be requiring the width of flange, that is BF. We will be requiring the thickness of flange, TF, thickness of web. Moment inertia will not be required by our cases, but radius of gyration will be required. Clear? So the radius of gyration along x-axis comes out to be 201 mm, and radius of gyration along y-y comes out to be 33.4 mm. So from this page we will be requiring this amount of things, and from the next page, that is our page number 13, we will be requiring certain things such as these two cases, that is radius of root. Will be requiring this case. So here it is mentioned as capital R. So capital R will be this topic, that is radius at root. Now keep in mind how the I section has been plotted. There are two types of sections being possible. The first section is direct placing a rectangle, that is this kind of section. This is also a I section, but here three combinations or three different rectangles are being used and are being welded. So this type of section is called a welded section. Clear? So we won't be using this welded section. As per our IS code and as per our terms, we always will be using a rolled section. So rolled section will be somewhat kind of this I section. Roll section will be made up of only one material, and roll section will be formed by heating the section or heating the material. Clear? So from single homogeneous unit we'll be creating a I section, whereas in the case of previously that was welded section, 3 individual units were combined and formed an I section. So here, as you can see in the figure itself on your IS code here, this part is called our radius or root. We'll be looking onto that in the next slides also. Clear? So this is called a radius at root. If we take a look in deep, suppose this is our section been mentioned. So this radius is called radius at toe, and this radius that is connecting our flange and web. Again, the radius that is formed when connecting our flange and web is called radius at root, and the radius that is formed on the flange itself is called a radius at toe, as you can see here. Radius at toe and radius at root. Clear? So we'll be always requiring this thing, that is the connection or junction point. So the radius at root or radius of root in this case comes out to be 17 mm. That will be requiring the next slide. Clear? So this much data will be requiring from our steel table, and the purpose of steel table will be solved. Now you can see here that BF and B, two terms are to be mentioned. Now why we took this term, that is B, because it will be needing for the section classification, and for that you need to refer to page number 19. So from page number 19 you can refer this figure that is been mentioned. This is for rolled beams and columns. This section, that is I section, can be used either in beam or in column. Clear? Here we are dealing about columns. So here, as you can see, that the B that is been mentioned, this B is the half of the BF. That is total, this length will be considered as BF, that is width of a flange, but for equation purpose or for calculation purpose we'll be always needing this length, that is B. Clear? So we have opted or we have calculated B to be 90. So B will be always taking as BF by 2. If you forget, just refer this figure from page number 19 of your IS code. Clear? So don't directly take BF equal to B, because it will be wrong and the solution will be incorrect from the first step itself. Clear? So for equations or for solving the section classification, we always will be requiring small b, that is our BF by 2, as per this figure, as you can see from page number 19. Clear? So these were the parameters. Now the first thing will be to find a section classification. Section classification is must, whether it will be a strut or a column. Clear? Here also we need to prove that the section is classified or not. If the section is classified, then we will be always substituting AG equal to AE. And if the section is not classified, then we need to find our effective area using different parameters. So first we will be seeing that. For that, we will be again moving to our page number 18 of your IS code. So from page 18 you can see that up till now we have solved the strut portion, and for strut portion, that was angle portion, we have used these cases, but now we are dealing with columns. And here specifically it is mentioned that it is given as I section. So I section has two units, that is a flange and a web. So for flange we will be always using these two cases, that is outstanding element of compression flange or internal element of compression flange. In our cases, that is in our syllabus, we will be always dealing with, in this semester, outstanding element of compression flange. Clear? So for flange we will be always taking this row, that is a outstanding element of compression flange. And here two types of section are being mentioned that we have discussed. First is rolled section and the second is welded section. As I have discussed earlier too, that according to IS code we won't be using our welded section in any of the type or any of the sums. We'll be always using rolled section, that is made from a single unit. So we'll be always focusing on this parameter, that is rolled section. And here you can see we need to find the ratio B by TF, and here B will be BF by 2, that we have seen earlier. Yeah? So we need to find this ratio, that is B by TF. And if the value of B by TF, here three classes are mentioned and three classes are satisfied. In the angle section you can see that for first two classes it is not applicable. So we were seeing only the value that is less than these terms. Yeah? But in the case of flange, this value is accompanying in all the three classes. Now how to find out these cases? First thing will be to find this ratio, that is B by TF, that is B, that is BF by 2, and TF, that is thickness of flange. So if the ratio comes out to be less than or equal to 9.4 epsilon, again If the ratio comes out to be less than or equal to 9.4 epsilon, it will fall under class 1 plastic. And if the ratio comes between 9.5 to 10.5, again, if it is 9.4, then it will be under class 1. If the ratio falls under 9.5 to 10.5, it will be under class 2, that is compact. And if the ratio comes out to be between 10.6 to 15.7, it will be under class 3 compact. And if the ratio comes out to be greater than 15.7, then it will be an ineffective ratio. Clear? So we need to prove that our ratio comes under any of the following classes. That is whether it belongs to class 1, whether it belongs to class 2, or whether it belongs to class 3. If any of the class are satisfied, then we can opt that AE will be equal to AG. Clear? If all these 3 classes are not satisfied, then only we will be doing the ineffective checks that we will be seeing later on. Clear? So first thing will be to find the ratio, that is B by TF. B, here you can see we have taken 90 as per our steel table. So the value comes out to be 6.38. That falls under, that is less than 9.4 epsilon. Epsilon can be solved using this case that we have seen earlier too. So this is a plastic section. That means our flange belongs to plastic section. So our flange is satisfied. There is no issue with the flange portion. Now we'll be seeing the web portion, and for seeing the web portion, we'll be always seeing this row, that is web of IH or box section. And in that also 3 cases are specified. The first is neutral axis at mid depth. Secondly is R1 negative, R1 positive, and the third is axial compression. Now this case, that is neutral axis at mid depth, will be always using when we are solving steel beams. Clear? That will be seeing on later chapters. So for using steel beams, will be taking this row. This R1 negative, R1 positive will be used when continuous sections are being taken. Here we won't be, in this semester we won't be taking a continuous section. So for this chapter purpose, we will be using this case, that is axial compression. So for web, we will be using this axial compression, and for that we will be checking this ratio, that is D by TW. Now keep in mind, this is not capital D. Capital D will be our 500 that is given in the question. This is small d, that means depth of web. Again, keep in mind, clear? This is just a depth of web that we'll be seeing how to calculate. And again, for that, class 1, class 2 is not satisfied. So we'll be always checking that this ratio is less than 42 epsilon or not. So our equation here comes out 500 was our total or overall depth, and minus twice of TF plus R. Now how we opt this? As you can see here, our I section is a road section that will be somewhat like this. And here we need to calculate only the depth of web. That means we only need to calculate this vertical portion. This overall, that is our total depth or height, was capital D, that is 500. So to find this distance, we need to subtract thickness of flange on both sides, that was 14.1, and we also need to subtract this radius, that was our root radius. Clear? So we will be subtracting our TF and root radius from both the sides to find our total depth of web. So this small d will always be depth of web, as we are dealing with only web. The flange check is already completed. We now will be focusing on only our web portion. Clear? So this equation will be coming out this like this, and this will be our TW that will be obtained from our steel table. So the final answer comes out to be 47.58. But as per our clause, it should be less than or equal to 42 epsilon. As it is increasing by 42 epsilon, our web is not fully effective. If the web is not fully effective, or if the flange is not fully effective, we can not write that AG equal to AE. So now we will be requiring to find the effective depth of web. Clear? So we need to find the effective cross-sectional area to be used. Clear? So this comes out to be 437.8. Now how we calculated? This was our section that we have calculated, and this will be our D, that is our depth of web, as we have seen earlier. So this total was 500, out of which this was our root radius. This distance was our root radius that will be deducting from both sides, and this distance was our thickness of flange. Clear? So out of this 500, we'll be deducting these two lines from both sides, and we'll be getting the total depth of web to be 437.8. So the total depth of web was 437.8. If the total depth was satisfied, then this ratio would have been satisfied. So now we'll be requiring to find the effective depth of web, and for that we'll be solving this case. That is, we always will be using the same ratio, but we will be substituting a term that is the lesser value or it will be satisfied. Clear? So in this case, as it should not exceed 42 epsilon, we'll be assuming that the ratio that fills, that means d by tw will be equal to 40 epsilon. In every scenarios, whenever this case fail, we always will be taking the value to be equal to 40 epsilon. As epsilon comes out to be 1, RD, that will be our effective depth. So effective depth comes out to be 368 mm in this case. Clear? And now we'll be finding the effective area. The equation here of effective area will be the total area that was obtained from our steel table. We'll be deducting the area that was from our ineffective depth. Clear? And we'll be adding the area that we obtained from the effective depth. So by deducting and adding, we'll be getting the effective area in this case. Clear? So for every time obtaining the equation of effective area, we will be solving this equation, and here the answer comes out to be 8907.84 mm square. So the total area was 9550 and the effective area in this case comes out to be 8907.84 mm square. Clear? So this will be using in a term that is PD equal to AE FCD. So the AE portion is completed. Now we'll be focusing on the FCD portion, and FCD will be calculating from the table itself. There is no need to find the values of lambda. Yeah? But for that also we will be requiring the buckling class. So we'll be requiring the buckling class, and in this case buckling class can be obtained from the effective length. First we need to find the effective length. So effective length, as the column is considered to be pinned at both sides, that means it is hinged. The effective length can be obtained from table number 11 from page number 45. As you can see here, this figure refers to the hinge portion. So as both ends are given as hinge, the effective length will be 1 into L, that is K will be equal to 1 in this case. So the final answer comes out to be 5000 mm. That means the length which was given will be our effective length. Now we'll be focusing on the buckling class. So for buckling class classification, we'll always be using the table number 10, page number 44. Up till now we were solving our angle sections, and for angle sections, as we can see here, it always depends on buckling class C. Clear? But here now onwards we will be not solving our angle sections, we will be solving either I sections, channel sections, T sections or box sections. So for that we will be solving other individual parameters. As in this sum it is mentioned of I section. So I section can be obtained from this part, that is of rolled I section. But here again our main answer divides into two subtopics, and two subtopics here are, first is given that the ratio of H upon BF. In the first case it is mentioned the ratio of H upon BF is greater than 1.2. That means if the ratio H upon BF comes out to be greater than 1.2, then you will be using this case. And if the ratio of H upon BF comes out to be less than 1.2, then we'll be using this case. So the first step to find the buckling class will be to find the ratio of H upon BF. H will be a total height, that is 500, and BF will be a width of flange. So here 500 upon 180, that is width of flange, comes out to be 2.78, that is greater than 1.2. So if it is greater than 1.2, then we will be using this case. Yeah, so this box is completed, that will be using the upper box and not the lower box. So for upper box also there are two again parameters. The first parameter is TF, that is thickness of flange. So if the thickness of flange comes out to be less than or equal to 40 mm, then buckling class about ZZ, that is our axis. So buckling class about ZZ axis will be buckling class A, and buckling class about YY will be buckling class B. Clear? And if the thickness of flange falls under this range, that is if the thickness of flange is between 40 to 100, then the buckling class along XX, that is our ZZ, will be buckling class B, and along YY will be buckling class C. So now we will be classifying that what will be our case, that will be using the upper case or lower case. So for that we'll be needing the TF value that we obtained from the steel table. So the TF, that is 14.1, is less than 40. So here we will be using this upper case in this sum. So for ZZ axis, that is our axis we will be using buckling class A, and for YY axis we will be using buckling class B. Clear? So this is our sum, that is for we will be using buckling class A for ZZ axis and buckling class B for YY axis. So we need to solve two individual cases, and out of these two cases we will be obtaining two value of PD, and whichever the value is smaller, that will be our final answer. So this is how we will be solving our column sections, and for that we will be now focusing on buckling class about ZZ axis. And for as the buckling class about ZZ axis was pertaining to our buckling class C, so for buckling class A, so for buckling class A we will be always referring to page number 40, that is table number 9A. It represents here that the value of FCD for buckling class A. Clear? So here in the first column, we need to find the value of KL by R. So here the value of KL by R comes out to be this. Here we will be substituting the term RZZ, that is our RXX. So we obtained from steel table that RZZ was 201. So the ratio, that is KL by R, comes out to be 24.87. And as the value 24.87 is not mentioned and Fy is 250, so we will be interpolating it between 226 and 200. Clear? So we will be interpolating it between 226 and 200. We already solved interpolation in the previous sessions and previous chapters too. So solving it, we are getting the final answer to be 223.08 Newton per mm square. Clear? This is our FCD, and according to this FCD, we will be solving our final step, that is PD. So PD will be equal to A into FCD. A will be considering our effective area that we obtained, and FCD will be substituting this term. So here the final answer comes out to be 1987.16 kilonewton. Yeah? So this was along buckling class ZZ. Now we will be solving the same steps upon buckling class YY. So for buckling class YY, we'll be referring table number 9B on page 41, as it is mentioned, it is for buckling class B. In this also we'll be solving again the KL by R ratio, but in this case we will be substituting R to be RYY. And after substituting the term R to be RYY, that was 33.4, the KL by R ratio comes out to be 149.70. We'll be again interpolating it and we'll be finding the answer that it will be 64.24 Newton per mm square. So according to this, the PD, that is our design compressive load, comes out to be 572.24. So we obtained two values of PD. One was along buckling class XX and the second was along buckling class YY. So the final answer will be the smaller value of these two cases. So the smaller value of these two cases is 572.24. So our final answer will be that the design compressive strength is 572.24 kilonewton. So this is how we'll be solving an analysis problem for a I section when it is asked in compressive column. Yeah? And this is a note that will be helpful to you while solving the design, that for column section, that in this case the minimum value, that is RYY, so buckling class about RYY will be only the final answer. Clear? So for design, not for analysis. For analysis you always need to solve both the cases, but for design you are not supposed to find two cases, that is along the x-axis and along y-axis. You always need to check the value of R. If R-axis is lesser, then we always will be opting for the buckling along x-axis, and if the value of RYY is lesser, then we will be always opting upon the y-y axis. Clear? For design, again keep in mind, for analysis you always need to prove both the cases and the final answer will be the smaller of two. So this will be our today's exercise problem. Solve it. As in the question bank, you can see that the column sections are being asked in more amount than as compared to our struts. So it will be beneficial for your examination point of view, and we'll be seeing some more sections in the next lecture. Thank you.